Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar on how to increase airfield design efficiencies. Before we begin today's presentation, we want to cover a few housekeeping matters to ensure you have a good experience. At the bottom of your screen are multiple application engagement tools you can use. All the engagement tools are resizable and movable, so feel free to move them around to get the most out of your desktop space. You can expand your slide area or maximize it to full screen by clicking on the arrows in the top right corner. Helpful resources are bookmarked in the related content tool. Our webinar today is scheduled to last for 1 hour and will include a question and answer period. If you have a question, please type it in the question box at any time. Please complete our brief survey for your PDH credit. For the best viewing experience, we encourage using a high-speed and stable internet connection and closing all programs or browser sessions running in the background that could cause issues. The webcast is being streamed through your computer, so there's no dial-in number. For the best audio quality, please make sure your computer speakers or headset are turned on and the volume is up so you can hear the presenters. At the conclusion of today's webinar, we will provide information on how to obtain your PDH credit for today's presentation. And stay tuned after to ask questions in our breakout sessions. Today's webinar is hosted by Rob Chapman and Justin Walton. Rob is the Director of Product and Analytics at Contech. Rob has extensive experience in manufacturing, engineering, marketing, and product development. He has brought numerous products to market in various divisions within Contech using his unique and creative approach. Rob holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and technology from Purdue University and an MBA from Miami University Oxford School of Business. Justin Walton is the pipe area manager for Contech, covering the South Central, Southeastern, and Mid-South regions. He has 28 years of experience in the civil site development and drainage sectors and is a member of ASCE. He has a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Auburn University. Now I'll turn the presentation over to Rob to get us started.
Hey, thank you, Jill. Good morning, airport and airfield community. The Contech team is very excited to showcase this new collaborative and interactive webcast. So as Jill mentioned, there's going to be numerous elements that are going to pop up throughout the presentation, throughout this webcast that you, as an audience member, can interact with. So if you're an engineer, an authority figure, owner, or contractor, if you're looking for further information, in our 3 key areas: expansion and new construction, rehabilitation and protection, containment and treatment, you will find our pipe, stormwater, and structure product solutions case studies that you can dive deeper into further product designs and past projects that Contech's been involved with. So we mentioned the interactive and collaborative atmosphere of this new webcast style. So following the conclusion, you'll get a notification. I think it will pop up the 3 things that Jill mentioned down below at the screen. And you'll be able to join one of 3 breakout sessions. We got 3 great speakers for you that will go into 3 topics that I'll get into. 15 minutes, coffee-style collaboration, some content on our part, but more open if you have some questions, specific projects, design, maybe some right questions for VACO. They'll be more than happy. You do not need to register that. You can just jump into the link and you'll be present. You will be able to speak too, so keep that in mind. Mute and unmute those microphones in there. So the 3 key speakers that we have following: Bob Moore, he's got 30 years of civil experience with Contech, worked across various geographies, market experience, multiple successful airfield projects. He just wrapped up our great Jackson Hole project, so check out that YouTube video if you could there. VACO, he's Contech's Director of Regulatory Management. Him and his team work throughout the country. They assist regulators, engineers, and environmental organizations navigating, planning, and implementation of stormwater regulations. And then finally, Dan Priest, the GM for our Hard Armor Solutions. He brings 20 years of experience in design, construction of geotechnical and hydraulic structures. He's already had numerous airfield projects run through him and his team. So those 3 topics you'll be able to dive into. Bob is going to handle the importance of controlling sheet water flow within airports and how it can be handled efficiently with FAA-approved products. VACO is going to go over the regulatory world of airfields and touch base why LID green solutions aren't as cut and dry as they are for other civil infrastructure projects rather. And then Dan's going to go over hard armor solutions in the airfield application. So again, at the end of the presentation, you'll have the option to join those. And here we go. So the end of today, officially, again, welcoming you to our Fall Air Solution webinar. Great content following this, great main content that Justin's going to go through. Airfield projects are truly unique from the risk involved, the timelines, the key stakeholders, owners and engineers interacting. They can be fast-tracked to minimize downtime. They can go through multiple design iterations. They could last for months or even years. So we could have projects that are out of sight, or you can have projects that are shutting down the entire airport operation. So a truly unique civil infrastructure product. We're going to take the approach, as Justin goes through some various examples of problem and solution and how we help outline and keep everybody collaborating on these projects for a successful airfield project. So as we go through this, if you've dealt with Contech before, many of us view us as a product company, the pipe, the bridge company, the stormwater company. In reality, we are a design partner. We offer multiple products and various solutions. So we're not just the metal folks. We have plastic, concrete. We have a team of excellent design consultants to help you with your project, regulatory managers that are really in tune with those local and regional regulations out there. And then we have a national footprint of manufacturing facilities. So a lot of folks on this call are aware of the substantial amount of funding set aside for improving existing airfields, the development of new or expanding ones. Many of the products are FAA approved on Contech's part. They meet the Buy America guideline as Justin goes through these. Again, we aim to be design partners for the life of these projects. We can create and revise submittals extremely fast with our design software, which I believe there should be a link somewhere in there if you're interested in that. But getting back to the grants, the two main programs, as many are aware, the AIP, the Airport Improvement Program, and then the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. And just through the initial set of funding that the civil world has been privy to, some of the projects that we've seen go through for airfields, runway rehab projects, snow removal and de-icing, the expansion of parking lots at regional and international airports, maintenance hangars, runway extensions and resurfacing, stormwater pre-treatment and treatment, AFFF containment, pond removal, and some erosion control projects. So even if you're unaware or do not have a project right now with grant funding in the future, planning can't hurt. So getting out in front of everything, you just have something in general, maybe a basic layout, want to get those steps and everything accounted for when they could potentially pop up, by all means, we want to be there as early as we can to help you out. If you've got any questions, don't put planning off to the side when you've got tangible stuff that you think you need to focus on. So as we go through this, Justin's got a lot of great projects that he's going to showcase for us, and he will be the bulk of the presentation today. We will have some pop-up survey stuff for you throughout the presentation. So with that, Justin Walton, everybody.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Hope you're having a great week, and we are glad that you're here. For those of you who may not be familiar with Contech, we are a nationwide manufacturer of products for civil site development, primarily drainage. And today we're going to talk about some product technologies that are especially beneficial for airfield site design. And speaking of airports, every 4 years, the American Society of Civil Engineers publishes their infrastructure report card, where they assign a letter grade to different sectors of the U.S. infrastructure. And the last report card came out in 2021. And for the aviation sector, it was sort of good news, bad news. The good news was that the grade had improved since the previous 4-year ASCE report card. The bad news was that it only improved to a D+. So that said, a lot of the programs that Rob mentioned, the Airport Improvement Program and the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, will go a long way to help ensure that our airports are as safe, efficient, and up-to-date as possible. So I mentioned Contech is a manufacturer, but we are also a collaborative engineering partner and a free design resource. We can assist throughout the project cycle from the design all the way through to installation. And we work with the primary stakeholders of a project, including the owner, which in this case would be the airport authority, their consulting engineer, and the installing contractor. We work as a collaborative partner with the airport authority, providing education on our solutions as well as product training for their inspectors so that during construction, the inspector knows what is being installed as well if there's any maintenance requirements down the road, they understand how those are performed. For their consulting engineer, we offer our FAA-approved product knowledge of local environmental regulations. Our robust engineering support helps them increase their design efficiency. And we do this through offering design solutions, specifications, CAD layout drawings, hydraulic and structural calculations, as well as budget level estimates. Also, we work with the installing contractor to ensure that they have a good experience and that what ends up being installed meets the intent of the design. So what are some of the innovative site solutions for airports that Contech manufactures? Well, I'd like to go over a few of these. First and foremost would be drainage pipe. Contech's pipe roots go back over 120 years. We manufacture many different shapes, sizes, and types of pipe, including PVC thermoplastic pipe, truss pipe, steel reinforced polyethylene, corrugated aluminum, as well as many different types of corrugated steel pipe. Our diameters go from 4-inch all the way up through 12 foot and would be suitable for applications such as storm drainage, culverts, as well as gravity sanitary sewer conveyance and trunk lines. As well, we manufacture a product called slotted drain, and this technology is very efficient at removing sheet flow runoff from paved surfaces. Obviously, airports have quite a bit of paved surfaces. On the land side, there's parking lots. On the air side, there's aprons, taxiways, and runways. And during a rain event, this impervious surface creates quite a bit of runoff that has to be dealt with. And Contech manufactures a full line of treatment and pre-treatment for stormwater runoff, things like hydrodynamic separators or swirl chambers, as well as filtration and biofiltration. On the air side, we offer pre-treatment, and that can be in a treatment train where we have multiple treatment phases or pre-treatment phases of the runoff before it goes into a finishing pond. And maybe your site doesn't have room for a pond, or maybe you want to create usable space on the surface, say in the parking lot area. We can also provide a custom subsurface stormwater detention system. Contech also manufactures underground steel reinforced polyethylene containment tanks. And these would be suitable for AFFF runoff containment at the aircraft hangar or spent de-icing fluid runoff containment at the de-icing pad. And we'll talk a little bit more about these in a moment. Contech manufactures a product called ArmorFlex, and this is a articulating concrete block revetment system. It provides hard armor protection for ponds, stream embankments, channels, coastal areas, anywhere that you want to pin down erosion and make sure that that loose sediment is not causing problems. It is an engineered block, and it is provided in either a closed cell if you want to prevent vegetation and possibly, keep wildlife from being attracted to that area, or an open cell where you can add a thin layer of soil and seed and it grows grass and becomes a green solution. Contech is also a bridge manufacturer. We manufacture pedestrian bridges such as this Skyway bridge to connect a parking deck to an airport terminal. Or in the case of baggage handling, we can supply steel truss conveyor belt support bridges for moving baggage from one facility to the next. In addition to pedestrian bridges, we also manufacture vehicular bridge structures. These would be used for stream crossings, grade separations, or tunnels going underneath taxiways and runways to provide access for the maintenance vehicles. It would include products such as steel and aluminum structural plate and also precast concrete bridge sections. You may have heard of Conspan. We also manufacture steel truss vehicular bridges. Some older airports may have existing storm drains or large drainage structures that have reached the end of their service life and are in need of replacement. Contech manufactures over 13 different trenchless solutions for structural reline and rehabilitation of these drainage structures. And the beauty of this technology is that whatever's on top, whether it's a taxiway or a runway, can typically remain active during construction. Okay, Jill, I think we have our first poll question.
That's right, Justin. Our first question is, how often are you involved in airport design? Is it the majority of your workload, approximately half of your workload, approximately a quarter of your workload, or never? I'll give you some time now to mark your answers. And just a reminder, if you have a question, you can type it in the question box and I'll ask them at the end. I'll give you a few more moments. Thank you for participating. Couple more moments. Okay, it looks like most of you have answered, so thank you. And here are the results, Justin. Looks like 7% say it's the majority of their workload, 2% say it's half, 17% say it's a quarter, and 73% say never.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So I mentioned aircraft de-icing. This is obviously a very important aspect of any airfield during the winter months. It's important to prevent ice buildup on aircraft, which can cause a myriad of problems, including it can affect liftoff efficiency, it can decrease aerodynamics, it can block sensors and vents. And one of the best ways to mitigate this is through de-icing fluid. And the base component of de-icing fluid is either ethylene or propylene glycol, along with water and some additives. And glycol is something that the EPA does not want being released into storm drains and making its way to streams, rivers, and coastal areas. And that's because glycol has a very high BOD, or biochemical oxygen demand. In surface waters, it can deplete the oxygen, which obviously is not very good for the aquatic life. As well, if mammals ingest glycol, there are some toxicity issues. The FAA has guidelines on the design of de-icing facilities. I think their last update was published in March 2020. And one of the options for containing spent de-icing fluid is to route it to an underground containment tank. And I mentioned our Duramax steel reinforced polyethylene containment tanks are a good solution for this. They compete very well against traditional designs such as concrete or fiberglass or steel tanks. Similarly, there may be an AFFF fire suppression system at the aircraft hangar. This acronym stands for aqueous film forming foam. And this is a chemical that is very good at treating high heat petroleum-based fires, fires where fuel or oil has ignited. AFFF contains PFAS, which is per and polyfluoroalkylated substances. These are substances in a group known as forever chemicals because they do not break down on their own in the environment. And they can also cause cancer and have some toxicity problems with prolonged direct exposure. So AFFF, as well as some of the newer fluorine-free firefighting foams, need to be routed to an underground containment system so that they can be disposed of properly. I mentioned Duramax. What exactly is Duramax? Well, it's a steel reinforced polyethylene. It is something that takes the attributes of steel, the high strength, the high load carrying capability, the ability to handle very heavy aircraft live loads, and it marries it together with the attributes of high quality HDB rated polyethylene resin, such as protecting the steel to give it a 100-year plus service life, a smooth interior for good hydraulics, as well as the ability to have a watertight joint. We currently manufacture Duramax from 30-inch all the way to 120-inch diameter, and it's manufactured in accordance with ASTM F2562, and more importantly, AASHTO M335 and MP40. So for this next part of the presentation, I'd like to share some real-world project examples of efficient airfield site design. And due to time constraints, as Rob mentioned, we'll keep this as a very general problem solution format. However, as I go through these airport projects, if there is a product technology that you would like to find out more about and take a deeper dive into, I would encourage you to please indicate that on the survey at the end of the webinar, and we would be happy to provide your group with a 1-hour future technical presentation to get better acquainted with that product technology. DFW International Airport in Dallas is one of 16 U.S. airports that have been formally approved by the FAA to accommodate the world's largest passenger aircraft, and that is the Airbus A380-800. This aircraft can hold 853 passengers, and needless to say, it is very large. And back prior to 2017, DFW and their consultant were looking at ways to expand their hard stand ramp de-icing facility. And the problem they faced was how to provide underground containment for 98,000 gallons of spent glycol runoff with the ability to accommodate an Airbus A380 live load. And after working with Contech, the solution they came to, which was specified and installed, was a double-barrel 96-inch Duramax SRPE containment system. This met all of the needs of the project, and it is something that installed much more efficiently than a traditional concrete vault design. And that's true when you take into account for a concrete vault, there is steel rebar that has to be placed and tied, forms to be built, concrete to be poured, curing time, stripping, and then finally waterproofing. So this was something that went in very efficiently, and Contech worked with the consulting engineer to provide finite element analysis structural calculations to show that the 96-inch Duramax could handle all of the necessary live, dead, and hydrostatic loads for the project. This next example is at Memphis International Airport. Many of you may be aware that Memphis Airport is the busiest cargo airport in the United States and #2 in the world. And that's because it's the home to FedEx. This is the FedEx World Hub. FedEx has more than 400 cargo flights per day, and they move over 180,000 packages per hour. So needless to say, even a single ice or snow event in the winter would greatly impact this scale of flights. And the problem they faced with their de-icing facility was they needed to store 8.08 acre feet or 2.63 million gallons of glycol contaminated runoff at an airside location with a very small limited footprint of only 370 feet by 191 feet. And this project bid originally with a concrete vault design, and it came in over the project budget. So after a redesign and a second bid process, the contractor selected a Duramax containment system as the solution. And this consisted of 8 barrels of 120-inch and 9 barrels of 84-inch with field welded joints. And this is something that met the requirements of the project and also fit very neatly into the small airside footprint. This next project takes place at the Jackson Hole Airport in Wyoming. Jackson Hole Airport is located in the heart of the Grand Teton National Park. In fact, it's the only commercial service airport to be located within a national park. This runway is very important for the local residents as well as folks traveling in and out of this area. And as you can imagine, in the winter, they get significant snowfall. And the problem they had in looking at improving this runway was how to capture close to 100% of surface runoff along the runway during winter snow removal, handle the 225,000-pound takeoff weight of a Boeing 757, and meet the airport's tight installation timeline to meet the reopening schedule for their busy summer months. Contech worked with the airport authority, their contractor, and their engineer to come up with a solution, and that was 29,000 feet of 12-inch diameter heavy gauge polymer coated Contech slotted drain with a variable height grate. This solution met the structural, hydraulic, and durability requirements for this runway project. Slotted drain is something that has a number of advantages over a traditional design, such as a concrete trench drain. For example, there's no iron grates that can crack over time or have the bolts work loose and potentially flip up and cause a protrusion for aircraft. Slotted drain is able to handle very high flows. We manufacture it from 12-inch to 36-inch diameter. And because it is backfilled with high slump concrete, it can handle just about any aircraft live load. And one 20-foot section of slotted drain can accept 50% more inflow than a standard 2-foot by 2-foot grade inlet. And it does so without multiple grade changes at the surface. And if you're rolling on an aircraft, that is the last thing you want is multiple grade changes. This picture on the right is some slotted drain that was installed at Hobby Airport in Houston. And this is at Southwest Airlines' largest maintenance hangar to date. They opened their doors in January of 2020, and they had about 1,600 feet of slotted drain installed to take sheet flow runoff off the apron. Many airports around the U.S. have utilized slotted drain over the years. I mentioned Memphis Airport previously. I'm told that there is close to 100,000 feet of slotted drain installed since the mid-90s at that airport. So needless to say, slotted drain is the solution for capturing sheet flow runoff at airfields. Okay, Jill, looks like our final poll question.
That's right, Justin. Our next question is, what area of designing airports do you find most challenging? Is it grade separation, stormwater conveyance, stream enclosures, sanitary sewer, glycol containment, rehabilitation or reline, pond enclosure, and stormwater treatment, or other? I'll give you some time now to mark your answers. And just a reminder, to submit your poll answer, please click the answer on your computer screen and then click the submit button, and that will answer the question. I'll give you some time now to mark your answers. I'll give you just a couple more moments. And just a reminder, if you have a question, please type it in the question box and we'll ask it at the end. Okay, it looks like most of you have answered, so thank you. And Justin, here are the results. Looks like 13% say grade separation, 27% say stormwater conveyance, 1% say sanitary sewer, 13% say glycol containment, 6% say rehabilitation, 18% say pond enclosure, and 18% say other.
Okay, we can certainly help with all of the above. About the same time that DFW Airport was working on their hard stand ramp expansion, the Nashville International Airport was also busy working on their MRO hangar redevelopment or maintenance repair operations. This was a very large hangar. It had quite a bit of square foot area on the roof, as well as a vast concrete apron. And in this area, part of the local requirements for stormwater runoff are 80% TSS removal, or total suspended solids. And the problem they faced was how to treat stormwater runoff from a very large area draining at high flow, 33 cubic feet per second and 13 cubic feet per second, with utility conflicts and karst topography. And the solution was to utilize a treatment train consisting of 2 vortex hydrodynamic separators and a dry detention pond. A traditional designer may have looked at many multiple treatment devices scattered throughout the project site. However, with the utility conflicts and the unfriendly karst topography, Contech was able to work with the engineer to develop pretreatment with just two units. And if you're not familiar with Vortex, it is a hydrodynamic separator, or HDS. It's used to capture trash, debris, sediment, floatables, hydrocarbon from stormwater runoff. It can remove small particles all the way down to a 50-micron particle size. And one of the advantages of the Vortex is that it has a shallow profile. The typical depth between the pipe, below the pipe invert, is only 3 feet. It also has very good access for maintenance to each section of this unit. The Vortex unit is just one of many HDS and other pretreatment stormwater solutions that Contech manufactures. We have a full portfolio of stormwater treatment BMPs, including HDS for targeting trash, floatables, debris, hydrocarbons, sediment, as well as the top of the pyramid, which would be filtration and biofiltration for targeting metal pollutants and nutrients. And we can even remove phosphorus and some nitrogen. So I would be remiss in mentioning all of these airports if I didn't mention the world's busiest passenger airport, which is Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport in Atlanta. And a while back, the problem they faced was the construction of the 9,000-foot fifth runway. And this required a service tunnel and a public roadway to travel underneath the new taxiway for a length of 504 feet. And I lived in Atlanta in the early 2000s during this time, and I remember the construction of the much needed fifth runway. But if you can imagine a 9,000-foot runway going through this very busy section of Atlanta, it was quite a daunting task. And this was just one of the many problems they had. But the solution for this in working with the design build team was to use dual conspan precast bridge structures, 32-foot and 36-foot clear span segments. These were installed in the summer of 2004. And this was a very efficient solution when you compare it to traditional concrete bridge structures. The contractor, while he was on site building the foundation, the precast bridge sections could be fabricated and then delivered in an efficient manner and set very quickly. As well, you can see in the picture, we also provided precast parapet walls on top to save additional time during the construction process. About the same time, a similar bridge was being constructed at Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston. Conspan comes in essentially two different shapes. There's a B series, which is shown in the picture. It has the straight vertical sides, and an O series. The B series gets up to about a 60-foot clear span, and there have been over 7,000 Conspan B series bridge structures installed since 1983. If you need something with a greater span, we can also provide a BIBO. The T series BIBO gets up to 102-foot clear span. Contech can offer a full set of detailed design drawings for these bridge structures. We can even help as much or as little as you need with the foundation design, from supplying horizontal and vertical footing reactions to a full-blown foundation design, such as a spread footer or even a pile-supported foundation. This next project is at the Mobile, Alabama Regional Airport. And the problem they faced was over 1,700 feet of existing 132-inch diameter plate drainage system located under an active runway with 30 feet of cover was nearing the end of the service life and deemed structurally deficient. The solution was, rather than close this runway, a trenchless structural reline utilizing 120-inch diameter Duramax was selected. This structural liner was fully grouted into place while the active runway on top was undisturbed. And this runway at the Mobile Airport is quite busy. It's used by commercial airline as well as the U.S. Coast Guard aircraft. The Coast Guard uses this runway for takeoffs and landings as they fly into the Gulf of Mexico to do their air rescue operations. So both the Airport Authority and the Coast Guard did not want to have to shut down this runway and open cut and replace that drainage structure. And because the Duramax liner pipe is also a direct bury pipe, that means that all of the loads applied to it, the dead, live, and hydrostatic loads, could be handled by the liner on its own. The hose pipe may have some structural integrity left. Maybe there has been soil consolidation above the structure over the years, forming a soil arch to help reduce some of the loads on it. And if so, that's great, but we want that just to be insurance. And we use the full gamma H from the crown of the liner pipe to the surface. It also means that the grout that's used in the annulus to fill that space between the OD of the liner and the ID of the hose pipe It doesn't have to be a heavy structural grout. So we're not talking 3,000 or 4,000 PSI. It could be 300 PSI grout or cellular grout. That's because it's just transferring the load to the liner. Some of the accessories we can offer for liner are a 2-inch diameter threaded grout port. For large diameter reline, it's important to grout in stages, and these grout ports can be placed anywhere inside the pipe to assist with the grouting. As well, we can weld tube skids on the bottom of the pipe, and this helps to reduce friction during the insertion process. This next example is a military example. This is at Scott Air Force Base in Illinois. And I chose this one just to illustrate that Duramax is included in the UFGS military specifications. And if you've done military design before, you know this stands for the Unified Facilities Guide Spec. This is something that the different branches of the U.S. military utilize, including the Air Force Civil Engineer Center, the Naval Facilities Engineering Systems Command. We've had many projects with the Army Corps of Engineers, as well as installations at NASA facilities. But the problem that they had at Scott Air Force Base was after an infrastructure inspection identified 2,200 feet of older 78-inch vertically ellipsed drainage pipe that was located under and adjacent to their primary runway and taxiways, and it needed to be replaced. And after evaluating different options, they decided on 72-inch vertically ellipsed Duramax. And this was something that allowed the runway to remain active during construction, and it met all the necessary hydraulic and structural requirements. So it was very beneficial that we could strut the Duramax to closely match the irregular shape of the hose pipe and maximize that open area. Now, the liner pipe is less square foot open area than the hose pipe, but because the Duramax liner has a smooth interior and the hose had a corrugated interior and the overall system was acting in outlet control, the hydraulics did not suffer from this reline. So finally, I would just like to stress that all of the Contech products, including our stormwater treatment and pretreatment, our conveyance pipe and subsurface containment tanks, as well as all of our bridge products, are made in the USA. And if there is any AIP federal grant funding or any other clauses that require Buy American, we can satisfy that and easily meet that with all of our products. So with that, thank you, and I will pass it back over to Rob.
Thank you, Justin. All right, so we're going to break into this presentation to showcase our all-new design center. Justin, you got a lot of questions on AFFF and some Duramax questions in there. My fingers could only go so fast, everybody. So, Jill, do you want to hit the video? We'll showcase the all-new design center. So, looking at the Contech's website, there's also a link for it. Within this is our new DYO center, and it's going to be a design package that you can work across our various products. So precast bridge, our underground storage and containment products, pre-treatment and pedestrian bridges. I believe every one of the products that showcased by Justin has a DYO package that you can get started with today. Exciting. We are the first company, I believe, to add collaboration to our software. So what you could do, you could add your coworkers, you could add contractors, owners, authority, all to your project to showcase what you're working on. You'll get output of CAD files, DWG files, important site calculations, BIM models. That is a very big thing going forward in the industry, 3D models, PDF submittals, really high quality professional deliverables. You can even upload your site plan and work right over the top of it with your designing. And you can work in a 3D environment, a 2D environment. You can plan your projects, lay them out very effectively. We've had almost 20,000 designs go through this system. We're improving it every day. It makes the design process extremely simple. Even if you don't have a site plan, you can upload Google Maps, work right over the top of them, just get generalized layout ideas. You don't have to submit it to us. When you are ready to do that, you can hit that project complete button. We'll help you through the design process. It's been a very awesome thing to work with owners, contractors, engineers on this, running into issues on site, being able to redesign and get deliverables almost real time. Everybody's getting those updated guide files as they need. So that is one of the ways to start a project, going through our design center, the links in here. Or the other way, it's been a very traditional route and a very successful route for working and collaborating on projects as the PDW, the project design worksheet. So you can go to our website, start the planning process there. You can work at your own speed, really. So if you got something tangible, a lot of project specifics right now, you can head down that route. Or if you just don't know, maybe you're in that planning phase that I referenced that you need to focus a little bit more on, you can start down that path. So very good ways to start the design process there. So in terms of closing up here, resources that we're going to have. So you can go to conteches.com/airfield or airports. You'll find those design tools that we just showcased, those PDWs, technical specification type documents, PDH articles, case studies. So I will say that the airfield industry, airport industry, we probably have the most case studies of all of Contech products. I believe there's about 50 plus on there. So if you go to our website, you'll see it separated by those 3 areas that I spoke about. Get in there, check something out that you may be working on right now. Blogs, we try and place them about 1 a month, just from key individuals here at Contech to help. And then we have local resources. So we have an extensive field coverage there, stormwater consultants, regulatory managers to help with that process, and then individuals to help out with the actual install and buttoning up your projects there. So with that being said, we do have the breakouts that I'll get to here. We have a few moments for questions. I think we should have Justin back for these. Jill, is there anything in the chat that we want to get Justin or myself? Glycol or AFFF, make sure that goes to expert Justin there.
Yep, that's right. If you have a question, type it in the box and we will answer it now. Our first question is, how many different locations do you have for manufacturing slotted drain?
About 10 throughout the country. So each major region of the U.S., we do have a facility that can produce slotted drain.
Thank you, Rob. Our next question is, what is the standard lead time for slotted drain?
So that's going to be project dependent. We do have some inventory at these facilities, but in case something like a Jackson Hole Airport, we've done a lot of major industrial shipping companies, thousands and thousands of feet of that. We can get ahead of that and manufacture months in advance just so we can be working with that condensed timeline and making sure everybody's hitting the key deadlines. So I'd say it's very project specific when you're getting into those lead times there.
Thank you, Rob. Our next question is, what is the largest single tank you can manufacture?
So out of the Duramax containment tanks, the largest single tank that does not require any field welding would be 120-inch diameter by 40 feet long. And the containment volume for that is about 22,750 gallons, which is just over 3,600 cubic feet. And I was looking through some of the questions that were typed in, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to answer a few of them kind of quickly. Someone had asked what happens to the spent de-icing fluid, the glycol runoff, after it goes into the containment tank. And that's a good question. It is either recycled and reused on site, or it is connected to a public wastewater treatment facility and released for proper treatment there. Someone else had asked about the struts that were used in the Scott Air Force Base Reline project. Do they remain in place or are they removed? And they are not permanent. They are just for the insertion and grouting. And then after the grout sets up, the struts are removed. And also someone asked about during the reline, is the liner pipe pushed into place or pulled into place? And the answer is yes to both of those. It depends on the means and methods of the installing contractor, and we can work with the contractor to develop a plan. And then finally, someone had asked about the grate height for our slotted drain. And It varies. We have a 2.5 inch and a 6 inch grate. And then as far as maximum height, our literature says 31 inches, but I know that we have done projects with grates much taller than that. And if you attend Bob Moore's breakout session, I'm sure he can elaborate on that.
Thank you, Justin. We also had a lot of questions come in about the maintenance of a Duramax tank. So if you want to just discuss how to maintain the Duramax tanks.
Absolutely. So one of the attributes that we fabricate for our tanks is access risers, vertical risers going from the crown of the tank all the way to the surface. And we typically locate these access risers at the upstream end and the downstream end. And that makes inspection very easy. You can pop the lid and shine a flashlight down. And if you're on the downstream end, you can see if there's any sediment buildup at the outlet, if it needs to be vectored out or cleaned out. And on the upstream end, you can insert a jetted hose and you can spray that so all of the effluent goes down and travels out of the tank. It makes it very easy. One of the great things about a Duramax tank is that because it is circular, it is very conducive to promoting good hydraulics at the invert when you are spraying it out versus a concrete vault, which would have a flat bottom, and that makes it more difficult to spray off.
Thank you. Our next question is, how easy is it to remove accumulated gravel, grit, and silt from slotted drains?
You want to go, Justin, or do you want me?
Be my guest.
All right. So you can install various access points in our system to be able to get some material in there to jet it out. And or you can go right over the top of the grate, straight down, and or our slotted grate. Can get in there with a system and push that sediment where you need to take it out.
Thank you, Rob. Our next question is, do you recommend using a slotted drain along the entire length of a runway to accommodate runoff?
Yes.
Go ahead, Justin. I think, yep.
Yeah, I believe in the Jackson Hole project, it was it traveled for the entire length of the runway because their goal was to get as close to 100% runoff removal as possible.
Yeah, the other thing, and I believe I answered that in the chat, they did do parallel runs, I believe, to help with snow melt. I know you can't get higher than a certain amount of snow storage on active runways too, so it was installed in parallel for most of that runway as well.
Our next question is, do you have any concerns with slotted drain in freeze-thaw conditions?
No. Again, slotted drain is backfilled in high slump concrete, and we have a design where it's even reinforced at the surface for heavy aircraft loads, and freeze-thaw is not a concern.
Thank you, Justin. What size Duramax tank is most efficient?
That's a good question, and I get asked that quite a bit in the initial stages of a design. And obviously, it depends on a lot of the site variables. But as a general rule of thumb, if you can utilize the largest tank possible, that is going to be the most cost-effective, the least amount of fabrication, and the smallest footprint. As an example, if you look at a 48-inch diameter tank and you simply double that to a 96-inch diameter tank, you're doubling the diameter, but you're quadrupling the storage volume. So as a good starting point, I always look at the largest tank that I can fit in that footprint, which would be a 120-inch diameter. Another thing I'll mention is on the Memphis Airport project, you may have caught that was actually two different diameters. It was 120-inch and 84-inch. And there were a few reasons for that, but one of the benefits of having two diameters was that the 84-inch could nest inside of the 120-inch, which greatly reduced freight costs. At that time, diesel prices were escalating pretty rapidly, and the fact that we could reduce the number of deliveries really helped the project budget.
Thank you, Justin. Our next question is, do we only work on airfield projects What other industries do we serve?
Rob, you want to speak to the markets?
Sure. So we have done underground storage for warehouse and distribution markets. We aid in the rail industry. We can aid in commercial development projects like gas station, pre-treatment in that, storage in that area. Commercial focused, publicly funded stuff like maybe a school or a library. You got some development work and need some stormwater storage in that area. DOT, we do a lot of rehab work for county-based work. So those roads that are way out there, we're involved with various products in that area. I'm trying to, what am I missing here?
Yeah, I think you covered it.
Markets in my head, just
Airport, rail, military, commercial, public, private, federal, as well as infrastructure rehabilitation.
We do it all. Our next question is, what are the lead times for the Duramax tanks?
Right now, we get that question quite a bit. Obviously, with a lot of the geopolitical issues going on, it has exacerbated the lead times. It's extended pricing. But for our products, specifically the Duramax, we are currently running about 6 to 8 weeks for pipe. And if there is fabrication involved, it would add another 1 to 2 weeks on top of that. But that is much shorter than a lot of the competitive materials that I'm hearing out in the marketplace currently.
All right.
Thank you,
Jill,
Justin.
do we need to head over to the breakout sessions?
Yeah, let's get to it. So after this webinar ends, a survey will appear. Please complete the short survey to receive your PDH credit. A follow-up email will be sent by the end of the day that will include a link with instructions on how to download your PDH certificate. Now I'll turn it over to Rob to talk more about the breakout sessions.
Sure. So we have almost 100 questions. We've been trying to keep up with most of them. I know there's some precast footer questions, tying slotted drain in the junction. So if you can, ask that in the breakout sessions. If not answered then, we'll download a list of the questions and make sure that we follow up with those individuals. So a lot of great questions, and my fingers are definitely tired from trying to keep up. But again, those topics where you could join using the interactive elements on that. Bob Moore, controlling stormwater sheet flow, a lot of slotted drain questions in this webcast. Vaco, he's going to help you navigate the world of pre-treatment, airfield, stormwater control, and regulations in there, and got a lot of experience in that field. So, and then wrapping up, Dan Priest, again, multiple projects that him and his team have helped with in the airfield industry, using those hard armor products out there for our structures group. So with that, we have a lot of great deliverables. We'll make a copy of this presentation available. You will have links to our design center. It actually is right on our website now, where we can start it. And then if you've got any suggestions going forward, please reach out. So again, coffee style chat, be open. Feel free to talk, ask difficult questions. We'll try our best after we just go through some basic content with everybody. So thank you, Contech team, airport, airfield community. Thanks for getting on this Thursday morning. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for joining us and have a great day. Head over to the breakouts now.